our next topic is your bread and butter, and it's around making connections. So we know that media and technology can help support connections. We also know that it can disrupt connections between parents and children. So we want to talk about both. How can we use it to really enhance our well-being as a family, and how can we avoid some of the pitfalls, just like you just mentioned about, making sure our kids feel like they're the priority and really showing them and doing those tangible things to make it a reality. So let's talk about why positive parent-child interactions are so vital for kids.
There is absolutely nothing that can replace the way a child feels when they're connected and actively interacting and engaging with their parents or caregivers, right? That I cannot stress that enough. Positive interactions foster learning and growth and healthy attachment, and they build self-esteem. Truly, the list goes on in terms of language development and cognitive development, emotional development. All of those things are linked to our attachment to our parents and caregivers and the way in which we feel like they're delivering attention to us. Um, it obviously is going to depend on the dyad and the family and the parents and the kids, but these interactions need to feel genuine, and parents need to be present and providing their child with their full attention. And children can tell based on eye contact and the way a parent is responding to their clues or cues very quickly and warmly. These can look like physical attention, like hugs and tickles. It could be singing a song together. It could be taking a walk through nature and, having a little bit of a scavenger hunt. It doesn't have to be one way that you're interacting with your child in this positive way. But having that time together is just incredibly important for so many reasons.
How much time are we talking here? Like, how much of us do our kids really need? Maybe I'm sure there's a scale, but how much time?
Absolutely. I mean, there's honestly some research out there to suggest that 5 minutes, 5 out of 7 days that are just dedicated to play with your child is great attention medicine and can really actually make a significant difference. I don't recommend that you only do 5 minutes, but I also know that parents are incredibly busy, and finding time in a busy day when you're stressed and you have a lot of other demands being placed on you can sometimes be challenging. And so I've worked with a lot of parents where honestly we've looked at their day and thought, where are we going to find this 5 minutes across three kids, or something? And it might mean you wake your one child up a little bit earlier so that you can have a little special playtime in the morning, or it might mean that you work actively during their bath time to be having that positive engaged interaction so that you're making sure that it's happening consistently. So there's no exact rule on the amount of time, but the consistency and predictability of that time for kids is incredibly important.
Okay, so you're recommending kind of in the same way that you did with the choices, like the getting dressed routine is an opportunity where this child is going to have this choice. So you're recommending that we pick, 5 minutes, the same time, the same type of play, the same type of interaction every day
If
with
you
with
can,
each
right?
kid.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. If you can, that's a really great way for your child to kind of know that it's coming and to not have to
Mhm.
seek your attention at other times with inappropriate behaviors because they're aware, like, yeah, bath time is going to be amazing. Like, that's where we do our dino play, and mom pretends to be the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I pretend to be the Stegosaurus, and it's really fun, right? And we have to kind of make it so that that the excitement, the enjoyment, letting your kid lead a little bit of that time or that play, that's really coming through. And that is the time, like, mom's not going to have her phone or dad's not going to be on his work email during that time. I know that's all devoted to me.
Let's talk about media and connection, media and technology. So we know that it can disrupt if we're distracted, we're on our phones, we're answering the emails, we're having, divided attention, things like that. We know that that can disrupt the quality time, but it can also help enhance connections. So tell us some ways that we can use it for our
Yeah.
advantage.
I mean, certainly we learned during the pandemic that connecting through screens and video chats and all of other, videos and that type of stuff can be extremely powerful, right? Grandparents can read to their grandkids through a screen or teach them how to play Connect Four or checkers. Parents who work late hours can be a part of the bedtime routine still, or kind of get in the mix that way. Cousins can do yoga together or play the same video games as a way of staying connected. The increased ease and frequency that tech allows us is just honestly truly phenomenal in terms of relationship building, and also can help parents to feel like they have a larger village, right? Or a larger support system in a lot of ways, which I think can also be incredibly powerful.
I love that. And we always want to be expanding our circle of care, we call it. And I know that, yeah, parenting can be so isolating. I've never thought about maybe doing like video calls with friends and their kids, that maybe don't live close enough, but we could see them in a few days and, talk about that. That's kind of a fun idea.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how do we balance the connection with screens and without screens? Like, what is the ratio? Obviously, those in-person connections are where it's at, but, is a movie night here and there good and okay?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any specific ratio, and the balance is going to depend on a number of factors for families in terms of their schedules, their distance from relatives and families, and those kinds of things. No matter what, we want to make sure that like our in-person connections are not solely replaced by screens, and we want to be sure that children learn how to interact like in real life or IRL, like they talk about, right? So again, screens and text should be used mostly in moderation and not a substitute for those physical connections. But again, I would never say to a family that is talking about, like I said, having one of the parents be involved in bedtime at night through a screen, like, oh, we should reduce that because it's a screen, or that, that your ratio will be off. It's like, let them be a part of the singing of goodnight, or let them be sitting there with everybody reading the same book goodnight, and that type of thing, if they have that opportunity or that ability.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've found so much benefit from being able to call grandma and have them chat and see their silly bedhead when they wake up, even in the morning on weekends. That's been a fun thing for us. Okay, so I do want to get back to in-person play and in-person connection with our children. And we've talked about um, being mindful, but I also know that it can be really difficult to kind of relearn how to play or to have fun when we're playing. Like I don't love to do the puzzle with the toddler who can't put the pieces together and then they take all my pieces apart. I mean, I just did the whole edge and then it takes it apart. Like it's a little bit frustrating for me.
Yes.
So I don't love that. So how can we, make play fun again? And like, do you have any ideas for making those interactions enjoyable for everybody?
A major part of my job is teaching parents how to play and how to enjoy play. And most of the time, as parents, we want our children to lead the play, and we want to remember there's no wrong way to play as long as they're being safe and not dangerous and not aggressive and that kind of thing. We do want to work on building our flexibility muscle as it relates to, can the cow go in the barn and in the Barbie car? Sure, why not, right? Or is it okay to mix the dino toys with the train set? Like, yeah, okay, even if that's not exactly how it's supposed to go. You want to try to enjoy and acknowledge how much fun your child is getting out of the play. And also remember that you're teaching so much through play as it relates to sharing and turn taking and language development and all of these types of things. But you do need to expect that it's going to be repetitive, especially young kids. You could build the same, stack of blocks up a million times and they will laugh every single time that they get to knock it over. And so you can build a stack up a lot of different ways to try to keep yourself invested in it in some way or shape or form. But they're going to be looking for that repetitive play and remembering as parents that that really goes a long way to teach them a lot of valuable things. That being said, parents do know a lot of times things that they enjoy and things that they are going to feel a little bit more connected to. And it's important to bring that in. I know a ton of parents that still like to color or still love to build with Legos or Lincoln Logs and something like that. It's okay to bring those things out, to know that just by definition, that's going to give you a little bit more motivation to kind of stay in it. I think that parents also want to consider sometimes where, their capacity is out. If you're a creative and a musical kind of, parent, get the pots and pans out, do a family band. But if you already have a headache, leave the pots and pans for another day, right? Like it's probably not, you're not going to win any awards for being the loudest player that day, right? And really knowing where your capacity is at ahead of time. If you just got the carpets cleaned, yeah, use crayons instead of Play-Doh, right? So that you can enjoy your child's creativity rather than thinking the whole time, oh, this is going to make a really big mess, right? So you want to kind of make sure that your child gets to lead, but that's within reason. Um, and it does need to be a balance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It yeah, I think that's one of the hard parts is like letting them lead in a sort of guarded area. Again, it comes back to choices, giving them choices to play, but when you're letting them lead, it can just be complicated when they want to get the Play-Doh out and then they want to do this and then they want to do that. Like, do you recommend having certain zones in your home or different parameters that let kids know like this is an option over here or not? Like what are your thoughts about helping parents feel a little more at ease, a little more in control when they're like not in control, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that, the more we attend to certain types of play, the more fun it's going to be for your child and the longer they're going to attend to that set of toys. So
Hmm.
really trying to make sure that if they're building a tower, and even if it's the 40th time you've seen them build that same tower, if you're actively saying, you're putting the red one on top of the green one, oh my goodness, you're putting the blue one on top of the red. Oh my, this is getting so high. I'm going to measure this up. Let me see. The more engaged you are, the more excitement you show related to what it is they're doing, the more they're going to try to stick with it. And the more they're going to want to stay with the blocks versus going from the blocks, then to the next set, then to the next set there, right? So, really, the more you show interest in what they're doing, the more you show enthusiasm, the higher likelihood that they're going to attend to those things for a little bit longer. Um, Also thinking about ways to kind of like praise their ability to stick with one set of toys, particularly for those preschool age kids. So I love how you're sticking with the train set. Oh my goodness, you're doing such a great job of putting each piece together so carefully, and you can be teaching a lot just honestly through saying things like you're putting the red block on top of the blue block. You're teaching the color red, the color blue, the concept of on top of, right? All in one thing without having to like question your kid, what color, right? Like play doesn't necessarily need to be this active form of questioning or proving that a kid knows something or a concept. Truly just by narrating and describing what's going on during play, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck and likely a lot more focus and attention from your child related to that play.
Amazing. That seems like a pretty reasonable entry point of just like saying what you're seeing, even though even that can take practice. One of our, before we got on this call and I initially got to meet you, I remember you saying, sometimes I'll say to a parent, okay, pick up the cow and say moo. And then the parent will say moo, and you'll say, no, like you mean it. Say it like you mean it.
Totally, totally. I
I
mean, if
love
you want your child to have fun, you have to kind of make sure that they think you're having fun too. So you're right. I mean, like being a sportscaster of your children's hands and kind of describing what they're doing and showing some enthusiasm related to it. And, also not one-upping them. A lot of times when parents are playing with kids, they accidentally make the play less fun by taking over in a way that the child hadn't really yet intended, right? If a child is writing, making a house and they've got like two lines on their paper, maybe your paper needs to have two lines as well versus a whole elaborate house with a garage and a and a sports car in front, right? I mean, letting them lead. I love the way you're drawing lines. I wonder what's coming next. I love the way that you're focused on your paper. It was a great idea to use the green. That kind of a thing makes it so that the child is, it's very rare that children get to feel like parents are imitating them, but it's the sincerest form of flattery, right? Or the coolest way to feel good about yourself, right? So if they put a train track together, you put a train track together. If they put a car on top of the train tracks, you put a car on top of the train tracks. Let them lead and imitate what they're doing as long as it's appropriate and safe.